Alright, so Pedro Pascal, alright, this is a guy that has been long in The Mandalorian, seasons 1 through 3 now, and of course, he's in The Last of Us by HBO. He's really popping up in more and more big projects over in Hollywood. However, there is one thing about Pedro Pascal that a lot of fans have criticized him about, is really talking either very bad about the Star Wars fandom and or catering to a specific small actual amount of Star Wars fans, and we're going to tap into this in just a second. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, what I mean by the small amount of fans, oftentimes Pedro will talk about the extremely positive pro-Kathleen Kennedy fans and how they are the majority. He goes on to keep on saying that the majority of fans love Kathleen Kennedy's work when really it's the minority, and that the other of which that are really the majority he calls the minority. So there's a lot of things that Pedro says that really just doesn't make a lot of sense, and just as of late he made even less sense when it comes to his vision of the Star Wars fans, how the Star Wars franchise works as a whole, George Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, I mean, you name it, the whole thing, the whole system. Alright, so let's tap into this. Now, he has been really promoting a lot of his work, not just for The Last of Us by HBO, but also for his role as djarin in the latest Mandalorian installment. So there's a lot of things coming out of that. He's been talking a lot more about what's coming from Mando 3, and what's coming from Mando 4 by John and Dave, and yeah, I mean, he's really excited about it and all, and he's really giving pro comments, you know, very positive comments about it, which is nice and all, but not so much toward the fans. Let's tap into this now, and of course. Now, with Pedro Pascal lately promoting The Mandalorian Season 3 ahead of its March 1st release date, he went on to talk about the fandom and didn't say the best things about the fans of Star Wars as a whole, when he was questioned about Kathleen Kennedy and the fandom's critique on her. Now, Pedro Pascal went on to say the following: "I think the fans that are criticizing Kathy so just have no soul and or love for this franchise, and they clearly don't see what kind of great talent that she has. Say what you will about The Last Jedi as a movie, but I thought it was the best Star Wars film ever, and that was all Kathy who allowed such a great film to come into existence. But yeah, looking at these fans that pick at her and mock her, or even constantly critique her work, just have no idea what they are talking about. These are not Star Wars fans. These are just fans who are against diversity." I gotta stop him right here. Now, that's completely false. You know, we, of course, are not against diversity. We are not against any of that. But when you kind of just do it for the sake of doing it, to push an agenda, that's where problems arise, right? That's where you're not focusing on the story, you're just kind of using the Star Wars label as a conduit to promote diversity, you know, in and of itself only, not really catering to the story at all. And that's how I see, you know, with happening, of course, with what's happening in Hollywood in general, a lot of times, right? Now, when you look at Pedro Pascal and what he's saying here, the fans that critique Kathleen Kennedy, he states that these are fans that have no idea what they are talking about, that they basically have a lot of negativity stored within them. But you know what? The way I see it, these are just very passionate fans, including myself, and a lot of you out there as well, that just need to let something out and kind of speak up and let Disney know about it. That's really what it's all about. It's not about just spewing out negativity just for the hell of it, right? So that brings us to the next thing about Pedro. Now, Pedro says a lot of things that ticks off a lot of fans, and for valid reasons, I must add. You know, Pedro doesn't say the best things about the fans that do not like Kathleen Kennedy, so to speak. Now, what's kind of ironic is that Pedro and Kathy have had creative differences before in the past. We talked about this, especially with Mando Season 3. I don't know if you guys knew the whole thing that went on, but a lot of it had to do with the whole helmet situation, and what happened back in Mando Season 2 was beginning to happen in Mando Season 3, but I won't get into that in full scale. The thing about this, though, Pedro goes on to say the following and continues everything by stating this, alright? He goes on to say, and new ways of storytelling that shift away from George Lucas's work. These are the type of fans that really lead to a lot of negativity. It's embarrassing, honestly, when I see fans react in such a way. It makes me sick at times reading the stuff that they say about Kathy, and terrible what they said about The Last Jedi and her other projects. Kathleen Kennedy is a true fan and knows exactly what she is doing. There is no reason to have so much negativity towards her. I guess he likes the word negativity. So yeah, I love her. She's great and all. We have had our differences, he says, but we work them out time to time. The fans just need to grow up and become adults to recognize that they are spatting nonsense. People that criticize Kathy really, and I mean it, just have no heart in this franchise at all, and we just all have to move on. But you know what? The thing is, fans can't move on when people like Kathleen Kennedy are literally backstabbing George Lucas almost out of spite, almost on purpose from what it looks like, right? Call me crazy, but it almost looks like that Kathleen Kennedy did all of that on purpose against George. We saw the interview, right? We saw the interview. Back in 2013, she told George to his face that we're going to take care of these characters, we're going to respect the lore, we're going to take a lot of those moments that he created within that legend sphere and kind of throw that into the existing material. Then, Kathleen Kennedy, let's jump ahead to like, what was it, 2020? Where she says that there's no source material to pull from for the sequel trilogy from the quote-unquote legends, and that it does not exist. She literally said that there's no source material to pull from that could have been used for the sequel trilogy and that legends does not exist. That was probably the biggest and worst statement by Kathleen Kennedy that remains to be heavily critiqued to this day, and rightfully so. It's a valid reason, right? Now listen, Pedro Pascal says a lot of things, I understand that. Do I like him as Din Djarin? Sure, I mean, he's great and all. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, you know, a lot of other people could also play Din Djarin. Let's just be very real here. The voice is iconic, I get that, but keep in mind that the voice, a lot of it is voice modulation in post-production. I don't know if you guys knew this. A lot of it is not necessarily Pedro's flat-out voice just being said. They do a lot of audio engineering with his voice in post-production and really change it quite dramatically. So there's a lot of things that Pedro says here about the fandom. It's not the greatest thing. And you know what? I'm not surprised. I mean, he's said worse things before in the past. A lot of things that were way worse that I'm not even going to talk about, but I'm sure that you guys know what I'm referencing. But everything related to Pedro, listen, I mean, there's a lot of great things coming out of The Mandalorian Season 3 about what Jon and Dave are doing, and it really is going to become quite something. Because even actors out there like Mark Hamill said that Jon and Dave have a lot of ambition. They have a lot of great goals in mind of what they're going to do with the Mandoverse. So, anyways, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night